We pushed you over the edge, Chris.
Come to the dark side.
They hard with these things.
Luke Skywalker. I'm an asshole, just so everybody knows. Welcome to Force Connect, the only live Star Wars conversation that takes your calls on Friday nights, talking about all things Star Wars, all things related to Star Wars, things that are adjacent to Star Wars, and everything in between. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Pete Fletzer. I'm excited to be here with my two good friends. We finally have the group back together. It's been a weird couple weeks, but it's me, it's Nick, it's Chris. Chris, how you doing, buddy?
Testing,
Yes.
Mic testing.
Got him.
It works. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
It's we'll see how it goes. The universe is telling me I need to get a new setup, so we'll see how this goes for now. Sorry for all the sound troubles that's going to happen.
Hey, no problem.
Good.
So
we're just glad you're here.
So far, so good, and glad you're here. Nick, how you doing, bud?
Man, I'll tell you what, Pete. It's been a week. I know for you, it has certainly been a week. There's nothing better than coming to the end of a week, the end of a work week, the end of a life week when things are extra lifey, shit's going on, to get to spend time with my friends, my weird space friends, as my wife so wonderfully coined the term a couple years ago. Not only the two of you, but our friends hanging out in the chat, the folks that are going to join us, as we go throughout the night. This is what it's about. This is where the fun begins, as someone famously said. So I'm excited to be here and hang out.
Awesome. I'm excited to be here too. Yes, it has been a crazy week, but a week that is now over for now, and we'll continue moving through. A lot of sort of subtle things happened in the Star Wars universe this week, things directly related to Star Wars and that will impact Star Wars. So we're going to want to try to chat about that. If you're watching, we see that the chat is already filling up, and I've got a lot of people hanging out with us. Do us a favor, hit that like button. If you're enjoying the show, and also hit that share, throw it up on your social media channels, see who can join us. We got a great conversation. One of the things we definitely try to do with Force Connect, we call it sports talk radio for Star Wars. We don't necessarily always go into that deep dive, and everybody, by the way, has done an Ahsoka trailer review. We're going to talk a little bit about the Ahsoka trailer, but we're going to spend some time talking also about what is the strike that's going on. What is that going to do for Star Wars moving forward? The shows that are in the can, what's that going to do for promotion, etc. So we'll talk about that. And then Mr. Dave Filoni, who is the heir apparent to George Lucas. Everybody loves everything he does, but he came out and said that Anakin is the greatest Jedi that ever was. And some people like that idea. Some people don't. We want to talk to you about that. We want to get your thoughts on that as we get to a little bit later in the show. But before we do, we have to do, as we do every week, we got to do a little bit of housekeeping. Want to remind you to find us at the SSWNetwork.com. You can find all the information you need about the show. You can find links to our Patreon program. Our Patreon program is unique in that for as little as $3 a month, you can be part of the conversations when we record interviews for Around the Galaxy. We have a couple fun things coming up very soon. We've been in some conversations with people that we're really excited about. Curious to see what the impact of the strikes might be on getting guests, but that's a whole story for another time. We urge you to follow us on all your social media at the SSW Network. And hey, if you like funny t-shirts and stickers and mugs and things that are borderline copyright infringement, head on over to sswnetworkshop.com and you can use the code Connect15 and you'll get 15% off.
And I'm going to be honest,
order.
Pete,
Yeah,
I was looking at our store just
Yeah.
a short little bit ago. I was finding a link to send somebody to a link to one of our famous shill shirts. I wanted to share that with them. I forget because that's how my brain works. Like, we have a lot of good stuff in there. And I'll be honest, I need to do a run through of all the stickers for all these designs because I've got too many t-shirts the way it is. Like, I really did a count not long ago when I reorganized my closet. I believe I have 27 Star Wars t-shirts.
Oh my gosh.
23 of them are podcast related. There's only like 4 of them that came from like Target or Walmart. So I really don't need another Star Wars podcast t-shirt, but the stickers are kind of that thing that, like, it keeps the image, throw it on a notebook, a water bottle, or stick it in a folder and keep it forever. So I'm due to, stock up on all of that, but there's a lot of great stuff in there.
Well, I'll tell you what, how about we do this? Let's do a little contest. And this is purely pulling this out of my ass as we're getting going here. For the people watching, go over to SSW Network shop at some point during this next hour and find your favorite sticker on there or your favorite logo, because we have stickers of all the different shirts, and post up on social media and say that you love it, and do hashtag Force Connect, and we'll pick somebody randomly and we'll send you a sticker of your choice, the one that you like the most. So just go to this, go to a different browser, don't leave. We need your
stay here. We want you to hang out with us.
But yeah, find your favorite design and post a link to it in social media with the hashtag Force Connect, and we'll find somebody and we'll randomly pick one of you and we'll send you the sticker of the ones you love. Good to see Fanboy Cantina in here, because Fanboy, I need to tell you that your pop is in the mail. He won 2 weeks ago. I think it was 2 weeks ago. But again, another Patreon perk. We are going to give away a pop to one of our patrons once a month in the last show of the month. So glad to see him here. Glad to see all of you here. Nick, we can't start the show though without getting a toast. So what do you got for us?
We can't start the show without a toast. And I have to say, before I get to my toast, I do want to take a very, very tiny point of personal privilege. I texted this to you like an hour ago because I honestly completely forgot. And I meant to talk about it Tuesday when I did the Indiana Jones show, when we brought back Podcast of the Whills to talk about Indiana Jones. But 7 years ago yesterday was the very first episode of Podcast of the Whills. So I am a day late on my own podcast birthday. 7 years ago, me and my buddy Steve, we started this crazy thing that, was him and I talking about Star Wars because we thought our wives don't want to hear us talk about it. We'll just talk about it with each other. And we did, and it was spotty off and on.
And I'm glad that you did, because that you reached out to, the little funny behind the scenes. Some of you may already have heard this because we've probably talked about it. But I used to end Around the Galaxy with, if you or someone would make a good guest, please let me know. And Nick has had a podcast for apparently 2 years before me, and was like, hey, I'd make a good guest. But honestly, even before that though, there was a little bit of, hey, listen to my show, tell me what you think. And I took I listened to what he had. He gave me some advice, and look, now we're all hanging out together. That's Chris has never asked for any of our advice. Chris knows it all. He doesn't need.
That's because Chris knows he's smarter than us, and he doesn't have to say it because everyone else knows it too.
It's true. That is true.
He does not protest too much. But so I did want to just, I guess, wish myself a 1 day late happy birthday.
I'll wish you a happy birthday as well. Yeah. I'll drink to it even. Happy anniversary.
That. Cheers to that. But my actual toast tonight, and we're going to get into this after the break, I know. We did this back when the WGA strike started, a couple months ago now.
Yeah.
I just want to raise my glass to not only our friends in the WGA. We have some friends who have been on this show who have worked on, various Star Wars properties, worked on other TV shows, Emmy Award winners, good friends of ours who, we appreciate in this Star Wars space. But we also have a lot of friends who are actors who, have been guests on our shows that are affected by all of this. And of course, you're going to hear, especially with the actor part of this, with SAG-AFTRA, you're going to hear some people saying, oh, well, these are actors and they make a bunch of money. And, the writers don't make money and the actors do make money. But when you really boil down what this is all about, there's a lot of mess in there that, I don't know if you saw the thing yesterday about background actors and AI and how they
Mhm.
the background
Yep.
actor just a one-day thing, and then they don't have rights to themselves, beyond that, and then the studios can just use it. Like it's a mess right now, and quite honestly, not only most importantly for these people who work and deserve to be paid a living wage and deserve to be treated fairly as creatives and people who do this kind of stuff. But it puts in jeopardy a lot of the entertainment industry. There's a lot of
Sure
stuff
does.
we're excited about that, becomes threatened. And ultimately, I know the three of us believe that there's nothing more important than the people who work and create these things, because without them, we don't have it at all.
Yep.
And so we want all of our friends to be able to go sit at a table and have some good faith negotiations. We want them to be able to share their needs, share their grievances, and find, an agreeable middle somewhere where we can continue to have the things that we love. But if we can't, and if the people who are creating it can't be treated fairly, I'll be honest, I'll wait for Star Wars until the people that make Star Wars for me are treated fairly. So
Absolutely.
I want to raise our glass to all of our friends in SAG-AFTRA, to our friends in the WGA, and everybody who's affected by this right now. Cheers. We are with you in solidarity, and happy Star Wars.
Happy Star Wars.
Star Wars.
I'm also curious. People in the chat, do you drink with us? Because ultimately it's three lonely guys sitting in rooms drinking alone, and it's kind of sad when you look at it that way. But no, we are.
Shit.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bring us all down.
Wow.
Pete just held a mirror up in front of Chris and I's face. Like,
I
what are you
did. I
doing,
was like, hey,
boys?
listen, guys.
I don't like what I see.
Well, hey, we're gonna have.
No, we're getting some response back. We got
All
Half
right.
Moth, we got Fanboy, we've got Eric.
All
We're
right.
good.
Good. All right. Hey, so again, don't forget, go to the SSW Network shop.
Ooh, I want to come back to this after the break when we talk about the strike. I want to come back to what Matt said. So remind me.
Okay, I will do my best. Head on over to sswnetworkshop.com while we're on this little break. Find what you like, and then go ahead and post it with the hashtag ForceConnect on your social media. We will pick somebody to win randomly a sticker of their choice. But until then, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the Ahsoka trailer and what the strike means for future Star Wars. We are back. Thank you for coming back to Force Connect, the only live Star Wars conversation talk show, sort of Star Wars sports radio, taking your calls, talking about all the things that happened during the week in Star Wars. And this week, the big news as far as Star Wars fans go, as far as getting us all excited, was the drop of the Ahsoka trailer. And like I said at the top, every other podcast, and there are literally thousands of them, has probably already talked about this trailer. But I wanted to just let's just sort of start by, I want to throw it around the horn to you guys. What was your initial response to seeing this trailer? It was a full 2.5 minutes, just about, right? It's like a film length trailer. Chris, what was your reaction to the trailer?
That's pretty much what my reaction was to this whole thing. As a huge Rebels fan, I'm just of course as a Star Wars fan, but as a huge Rebels fan, I'm really so looking forward to seeing the continuation of their story and maybe the conclusion of their story. Finding Ezra and then whatever happens after that. But I can't wait to see what was done, because this looks, we've had a few Star Wars series before, but this one looks It looks different. It feels different from them. It feels more like an animated series kind of thing because, of course, Dave Filoni is at the helm for this one. So, like for any Doctor Who fan out there, like, you know, when it was a Stephen Moffat episode, you're like, oh, here it comes. It's going to be a killer.
Yeah.
And seeing that this is like all day, you know, for the most part, it's all Dave Filoni. I'm sold on that. I think every episode is about to be a banger. I can't wait.
Yeah. It's interesting to hear you say that it reminds you of animation, because there were a couple things specific in the trailer, and then I want to get your thoughts, Nick. But the Sabine driving down that highway on the speeder from the same open highway on Lothal that we had that we saw in Rebels in the first couple episodes. Just
you know what was chasing her?
E-Wings, baby.
E-Wing, right?
E-Wing. And I was like, yo, that's cool. And you know, I'm not a huge EU person, but I know the E-Wing. I've read, when did that premiere? Was that in Heirs to the Empire? Was that in Thrones trilogy? Because it would totally make sense.
I just finished rereading all three of those books. It wasn't in that. But
wasn't in that one?
Else.
It was one of those other books. Okay. But yeah. I was geeking when I saw that. That was really cool.
Yeah, that was pretty exciting. And so, Nick, how did you respond to the trailer?
Like Chris, I mean, honestly, I have my hardcore lover of Rebels. I joke all the time that, you know, I am not the age group or demographic that was targeted for Rebels. But then when I discovered it a little bit late, I was all in the tank. You know, I didn't catch it when it first started live. Okay, I'm sure I'm wrong. Angry would know. Maybe my reading comprehension isn't great. I do live in Alabama. But
he is a very common letter.
That's right. It happens. Yeah, especially the Rebel stuff, like Chris said, you know, those shots, the shot for shot, you know, seeming shot for shot remakes that we get of the finale of Rebels, Sabine in the tower, Ahsoka's ship coming in, the X-Wings, that highway, like so much of that, like. And I agree with you, Chris. This feels different. I rewatched the trailer literally right before we came on. The first 3 or 4 times I watched it this week, I watched it on my phone because that's the world we live in. We watch stuff on our phone. And so, honestly, this is the first time that I watched it on something bigger than my phone. I watched it on my monitor right here that I use for the podcast. And I just sat and I didn't touch anything. I didn't pay attention to anything else. Like I was just transfixed. And literally about a minute into this trailer, the literal words that went through my head is, this feels different. I'm not saying that Mando's not good. I'm not saying that Obi-Wan and Boba Fett and Andor aren't good.
Yeah, not better or worse, just different.
There's a different feeling here. Like it grabbed me in a way, seeing all the details, the ships parked on pads, the, you know, the structures, the temple things, the weird, you know, Angry's KOTOR dome computer readout map, whatever it is. Like there's so much. And of course, honestly, it's the characters. I love Ahsoka Tano, and we're going to talk about Jedi coming up here in just a little bit. But Ahsoka, and I've said it more times than I can count, and if it was a drinking game, we'd all be dead. But when I first discovered Ahsoka, I was annoyed. I was like, what is this crap? I'm not interested in this. But by the time I found Ahsoka in Rebels, like I'm all in the tank for the character of Ahsoka Tano. And when I went back and, you know, what it took to walk away from the Jedi Order in Clone Wars and what we get in season 7, what we get of, like, that is one of my favorite Star Wars characters overall. So for her to get the spotlight for her own show, but on a real world one-to-one connect, to have it be Dave Filoni's passion project, essentially, like I can't wait to see what's going to come out of this. I am truly excited.
It's interesting you say it felt different, and I'll be the slightly apprehensive,
be the contrarian
person here. Yeah, well, not contrarian, but you know, and again, especially, I don't know if any of you saw my Twitter travails yesterday. Holy shit!
What happened on Twitter now?
It's Twitter.
Chris, don't ask.
You don't want to know. You don't.
Right.
You're better off.
Okay.
But the reason I said that is because I don't love everything we get. I don't love every single thing. Now, I loved everything about this trailer. But the closest I'm going to get to being contrarian here is when I saw the Kenobi trailers, I thought, wow, this looks like a film. It looks different. It looks bigger. It looks more epic. And if I'm being honest, I feel like the Kenobi show felt the smallest, right? At the end of the day, just like it was almost a little bit too much leaning on the volume. So that being said, I'm not going to disagree and say that it didn't feel big, because it definitely did. And I'll tell you exactly what made me think it felt big in a second. but I'm cautiously optimistic that the look and feel will be as big as I got from this trailer. Again, I loved Kenobi. I loved so much about the show, etc. But again, I felt like it felt small. What made me feel completely different about these shots, though, were the shots from space. The fact that when was the last time we saw a freighter in full on space, other than the Kenobi show, and it was brief.
Calamari cruisers.
But we're looking at calamari cruisers. We're looking at where, like, it was the end of Return of the Jedi happening on that screen, and it was really exciting. So I'm hopeful that, especially because now Dave is creating a film that is going to take all these series and put them together. I hope this is that first step into feeling like the big epic Star Wars that we need, which kind of leads nicely into a quick conversation here before we hit our first break at the bottom of the hour. Bob Iger just came out and said they're going to be doing less Marvel. They're going to be doing less Star Wars. And there's a whole financial thing happening in the entertainment industry related directly to the SAG-AFTRA and WGA strike, directly related to that. Disney is not making money on this stuff as much as they thought they would. What is this going to do? I want to talk about the things that are already in the can, right? Because right now, we just saw Deadpool stopped shooting. They just brought Hugh Jackman out in the X-Men Wolverine, and they stopped shooting.
He's like, let me just take this off. Fold this Wolverine costume up. There you go.
So
it's nice.
We're running down towards some of these great things. Yeah. But right now, Disney has 3 series ready to go. They got Skeleton Crew coming up next, which nobody's talking about. Nope. We have Acolyte, which they put a lot of noise around at Celebration. So we have 3 things coming up. What is this? My first thought, and this is my obnoxious sort of feeling, and Nick, you'll appreciate this, and so will you, Chris. My first thought was, well, I guess they're not going to be doing a premiere for Ahsoka, so there goes our chance of getting an invite. Right? So, but the reason I think that's important is, what is this going to do? What is this going to do to the hype surrounding Ahsoka, and then Skeleton Crew, which has no hype yet, because SAG has told their members, you are not allowed to do press. You're not. It's going to have an impact potentially,
present, or future projects.
Past, present, or future, and it could even have an effect on Podathon, if we're being honest. Correct. So, what do you guys think? Because look, the vultures are waiting for every opportunity to say that Star Wars is dead, and that Marvel has peaked in phase whichever one it peaked in. These things are going to take some major hits. Do you guys have any reaction or any thoughts to that?
If they're saying Star Wars is dead, it's not Star Wars' fault.
Right.
That's an industry thing. That's a Disney thing. That is, this whole strike, which is so very unfortunate. But a whole bunch of things are changing all at once, and I don't know what the future is going to hold for entertainment going forward, or we're just going to have like Roku and I were talking about this earlier today. Like, I don't know if this is going to be like the start of a new wave of indie projects that are not, SAG-AFTRA, or WJ or anything like that. And the entertainment industry goes along with wanting to do a whole bunch of AI stuff. And listen, I use Midjourney. All right. I just like typing in goofy shit that's in my head. Let me type it out and see what it looks like. That's that and Blue Bantha Milk, but there's some things changed with the AI as far as that goes. But things are changing all over the place. Like Bob Iger. I'm sorry, Bob Iger to me is sounding like
oh my God.
This is why you never put your faith. You never idolize billionaires. Like Vince McMahon to me from WWE was I used to back in the 90s and early 2000s. I was like, this dude is a genius. And as it goes on, it's like, no, this dude is very far removed from everyone else. Yeah. And he's so out of touch. And his product suffered until it took a sex scandal to get him out of WWE. Now he's back in billionaires. So and right now, Iger, these things he's saying, very much out of touch. To say that streaming isn't viable, and I understand like it's not making the same kind of money that the movies do. The movies aren't making the same kind of money that the movies do, thanks to the pandemic and streaming and all that stuff. So there's some compromises that are going to have to be made for production. Like the thing with the taking doing a scan of background extras, paying them once.
One day,
no residuals. Oh, come on, that's damn near. That's some Daddy Warbucks evil shit right there. Yeah. Like it's. I mean, not Daddy Warbucks because he was actually a good person.
That's
Scroogey. It's
honestly
Scroogey.
That's the equivalent of like black music artists in the 50s who these white record producers and record companies bought their hook, paid them $50 and said, "We've paid you, go away now." And then they've sampled that hook, they've used it, it became an Elvis Presley song, it became something else.
Yeah.
And it was bought for the minimum, but then the backs of, these huge stars and huge other things were built on top of that. Yeah. It's really interesting to me. And I think that, and our friend Greg is in the chat, and Greg, of course, is involved in the Writers Guild of America strike. He's been on with us. He's told us a bunch of stuff about it. I'm hoping he'll call in a little bit. But he made the joke about, luckily, there's nothing, excluding members from talking about the EU in excruciating detail. But it did trigger something that I had also thought about ahead of time, which is if we're trying to mine for a silver lining, and I'm a positive guy, I'm a cup half full guy. If nothing else, these creative people, these writers especially, of course they're going to be eager to get back to work. Most importantly, they're eager to get paid because they have a life to live. And like Angry Tasty Cake said, you have to make $28,000 or $26,000 a year to make the health insurance, and 80-something% of the the people involved don't make that based on their writing jobs and the things they do. It's about basic human rights, no question about it. The silver lining that I'm looking for is the ability for these people, while they're in the midst of this, while they're not working, to brainstorm, to come up with ideas, to come up with ways that eventually, when this gets settled, hopefully, fingers crossed, to be able to then go, I've come up with better ideas. And now that we're back, these things that are farther down the line, certainly the Star Wars movies, is that going to create opportunities for them to flesh out more ideas instead of being stuck in the crunch of the machine, which we've certainly seen over the last 10 or 12 years, where we're just cranking stuff out because more money means a new thing coming out. And so hopefully maybe, the forced pause gives these writers the opportunity to breathe a minute instead of scrambling from one job to the next, and develop some ideas so that when we come back and we're working on the Rey movie, there's even better fleshed out ideas for the people that are writing that movie or the Mangold movie or whatever it is. I don't know. That may be a reach.
Are you guys watching Secret Invasion? I know this is a Star Wars podcast.
Yeah.
I saw our friend Ryan Airy say something about this as well. I'm enjoying this story of Secret Invasion, but I feel like most of it is kind of cobbled together. So I feel like this was one of those things they were going to do. I don't know if there was a plan for film at one point or whatever, but it feels like an example of what happens when you're churning out too much content. And that's the problem, right? Is you have Disney is the parent company of the franchises we talk about here, right? Disney is churning out Star Wars property after Star Wars property, Marvel property after Marvel property. And as much, Chris, you and I say it all the time, gimme. Right. If you're going to beat down writers and producers and the production teams in order to get it and ultimately churn out something that is not the top quality that you want to have, then let's wait. Like I feel like Secret Invasion is being stretched out over 6 episodes when it could have been a 2-part series, right? Or a 2-part film, right? Maybe not that much, but I do feel
for someone who's read the Secret Invasion, the comics, bro, there's so much they could be doing, and then
correct. And to add to that, what you have with Greg saying here is it costs $220 million to make it. I don't see
where's that money.
I'm not. This is not a dig on any of the special effects people or anything like that. But I don't see $220 million in this unless the last 2 episodes
That was an expensive ass train that Sam
like,
Jackson's been riding around.
Yeah,
on.
I mean,
like
it's
220 mil. There needs to be some costumed heroes up in this piece, and there have been none.
Yep.
It's a lot of face changing. That's what
it's
we're
intimate.
doing there.
It's intimate invasion, like the way Civil War was like just a dispute between friends at a airport.
Yeah, no, and so, but all this has to do to bring all this back around is, I feel like there's proof right now that the big entertainment conglomerates are trying to get as much as they can about out of everything they can, and then not willing to pay for it, and that's it's going to kill the industry, and we're gonna come through this in I think, and again, if Greg calls it to be great, I think we're gonna end up in a different type of the industry is going to be changed completely after this, and it needs to be. So, well, we're not going to solve it, but we just want to throw that out there. And again, on the plus side, look, as a greedy Star Wars fan, I'm so glad that there's 3 shows in the can. Andor is going to be delayed. The 3 movies are going to be delayed. Season 4 of Mando will be delayed. But to Nick's point, hopefully it'll mean better products. So we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to start to get into some stuff relating to a comment that one Mr. Dave Filoni made about a particular Jedi. So we'll be right back in just a minute with more Force Connect.
Easy, Tauntaun. What is it?
New Tauntaun, Wampa, and action figures, each sold separately.
Han Solo! Help! Oh no! It's got Luke! Papa! Watch it, Tauntaun! Gotcha!
New Tauntaun comes with an open bell rescue.
Luke, as soon as I chase away that thing! Papa! Papa!
New Tauntaun and Hoth Wampa and other action figures, each sold separately from Kenner's Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back collection.
From Kenner's Star Wars collection, each sold separately. Large-size Darth Vader with his lightsaber. Princess Leia, champion of the rebel cause. With her defender, Luke Skywalker. You can swing him into action on his grappling hook. And load Chewbacca's laser crossbow. Star Wars large-size action figures. Up to 15 inches tall and ready for action. Large-size Darth Vader, Chewbacca, Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, each sold separately from Kenner.
Hey, and
Let me go ahead and say the best part of that commercial break was watching Chris's reaction in the background while those
awesome.
commercials were on.
So
I was like, had that.
Buried in my mother's backyard somewhere with that. Yeah. Oh man. So we're back. Thank you so much for joining us on Friday night on Force Connect, hanging out with us. Just a reminder, I pulled something out of my ass and said, go to the SSW Network shop.com. Look for your favorite sticker or design or shirt. Post a link to it on social media with the hashtag Force Connect. And we'll pick one of you to get a sticker of your favorite design that you go ahead and post out there. Things like, do you even shill, bro? Force Connect and shill. I love jizz, meaning the jizz music from the cantina. Whatever you like. Hey, whatever you want. We have it in there. It's there's a lot of stuff. But
Netflix and Shill is a newer one that's pretty good.
I love that. That's one of my favorite ones, Netflix and Shill.
But
we have them all. They're all there. And if you use code Connect15, you'll get 15% off your entire order. And so enough selling stuff, enough shilling for ourselves. We have a bunch of you joining us tonight. Thank you so much for hanging out. We really appreciate it. We're watching your comments. We're going to be putting them up, but we're going to talk for a little bit and then we're going to open the phone lines because we want to hear from you. Earlier this week, I think it was this week, a video came out sort of prepping the world for Rosario Dawson and the Ahsoka series, which we were just talking a little bit about. And at one point in the video, Dave Filoni says, I want to get the quote right. He says, we're telling the story of the character who has been trained by the greatest Jedi of all time in Anakin Skywalker. Some people say yes, some people say no. But because we live in social media, of course, it lit the world on fire, and people had opinions and strong opinions, and said he was crazy, or damn right, he is the best Jedi, greatest Jedi of all time. I guess it all depends on the definition and perception of what a Jedi is. But let me just start by throwing it to you, Chris. Chris, when you hear that phrase, Anakin Skywalker is the greatest Jedi of all time, what is your initial response?
Pete, I'm no hater of change or doctrine. Like, if I have an opinion and someone says something different, whatever. If a creator says, well, Anakin shit smells like cheesesteaks, I'm gonna be like, Anakin shit smells like cheesesteaks, guys. Dave Filoni said it. So if he thinks so, and if that's the case, I mean, all right. It didn't bother me. It didn't bother me at all. If he's saying that, there's something to it. He's written for this character for well over a decade.
Mm-hmm.
So, or more than that, actually. What am I saying? So yeah, it doesn't bother me at all. Cool.
Is he right?
I agree with him.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. I mean, I have a little list of the greatest, but Anakin is in that. Absolutely. Before he tripped up. But yeah. Absolutely.
All right. Nick, how did you respond?
I didn't respond with anger and ire, which makes me a weirdo in the internet world. So I don't know what to tell you about that.
You can't be on Twitter and not like, you got.
I do respectfully, in all respect to Filoni, he who mentored at the feet of the creator himself. I do respectfully disagree. And again, there's so much that's subjective about this as far as what do we mean greatest Jedi? Obviously, it's not favorite Jedi. That's a different thing. I disagree that Anakin is the greatest Jedi. I think the fall, certainly, takes that out from him. Yeah, that puts a little asterisk. There's a little bit of Barry Bonds in the Hall of Fame kind of situation.
It's a Mark McGuire Jedi.
That's right. Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa, Barry Bonds situation.
Murdered a lot of children.
Jose Canseco.
But I think that, if you're asking me, and we've kind of done this, back and forth in text message, and we're going to do it with our callers for sure. Who do I think is the greatest Jedi? And I'm going to make a not very unpopular opinion, but I'm going to throw it out there, and it's my opinion, and that's why I get to say it. I think Yoda is the greatest Jedi, and I've not always been the biggest Yoda person, just because Yoda was a little bit cheesy, whatever. But you look at the run, you look at the cumulative amount of time that Yoda has. It's not fair that he lives 900 years, but he's been there through all of it. And of course he's failed. And that doesn't mean that you can't be great and fail, because we learn from our failures. You see King David, you see, and any number of other leaders who have failed, who have made mistakes, who have figured out ways to atone, train. And I think for me personally, if I'm being asked to pick who do I think is the greatest Jedi, I think it's Yoda, simply for length of run and the amount of places and areas he's been able to have impact, the esteem that he was held in, even through those times in the prequels when all of the Jedi were being, blinded and shaded and that kind of thing. So I have no ill will towards Mr. Filoni and his comments, but I respectfully disagree.
Interesting.
Chris, what about you, Peter?
Yeah. Well, my favorite, who I think the greatest Jedi, it's really hard, right? Blue Bantha Milk says it's Yoda for sure. It's such a tough question, and I think that's part of where the disagreements come in, because is it the greatest Jedi from a power perspective? Is it the greatest Jedi from an influence perspective? Is it the greatest Jedi from somebody who embodied what we have come to believe a Jedi should be? Right? I mean, I actually come close on two, but I don't think my first one is, it's hard to say he was the greatest Jedi because I don't think we know enough of his story, and that's Qui-Gon Jinn. Right. I think for me, when I think Jedi, the first Jedi I think of, even before Luke and before Anakin and before Yoda, is I think of Qui-Gon Jinn. I think the way we were introduced to him in the Phantom Menace and the story that we got from him, and we heard his disagreements, respectfully disagreeing with the council, to a point where they were like, "You're never going to be one of us because you're so strong in your opinions." I think that's what made him a fantastic, a great Jedi, in my opinion, based on what I know, what I think a Jedi should be. But to me, I think the one that has embodied the most Jedi ideals for the longest period is Ahsoka Tano. And I think the fact that she walked away from the Jedi makes her more of a Jedi than any of the people she walked away from, because she looked and she saw what was happening, that they weren't who they should be. And look, I think that's the hardest thing, right? You hear people who walk away from their religion, and I'm not going to, I'm not going into that into any detail here, but
we haven't had enough to drink for that tonight.
Right. But when you hear people who walk away from their religion because they fundamentally disagree with where it's going, that is a stronger person. And I think that that's what it takes to be a Jedi. When I think of what a Jedi is, I think it's somebody who's strong in their convictions, strong in the Force, and doing what's right first. So,
well, and I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't we do a version of this show some months back where we talked about something to the degree of like most pure Jedi, or somewhere along the line that conversation would be had? Because if that was the topic, I would have a different answer than Yoda. I would agree with you with Ahsoka, like the purity of Ahsoka and her as a Jedi, the things she did. I'm sorry, I have to bring this up. You drink enough medium shelf bourbon, Pete kind of looks like Qui-Gon Jinn.
Miss you, David. I do. I really do.
That's right. But yeah, so the question of greatest, and I'm not, crapping on your choices at all, Pete, but simply saying we can take this conversation a million different ways. You've got a power dynamic. You've got which Jedi is the best with a lightsaber, which Jedi is the most pure, who's the most Jedi to ever Jedi. That was the conversation we had.
Well, and that's why I think the comment from Dave Filoni is so interesting. To say the greatest Jedi that ever was, or the greatest Jedi of all time in Anakin Skywalker. So I think Dave needs a PR guy, because because throwing that out there is going to cause a storm of controversy, because
anything anyone says that's on the other side of this, the whole Star Wars thing, whatever they say is going to be taken, dissected, and shit on by a good portion of the Star Wars fandom, like every time.
And I think we just proved it, and then we proved why that. I mean, we came up with, and every one of the reasons. I don't care what you say, Nick. My reason was valid. The reasons, every one of them is valid, and I think that's what makes Star Wars great, is that we have that opportunity to have the conversation consistently.
Like for me, I'm not a religious person. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not a religious person. So any Jedi that can walk their own path within this rigidness of the Jedi Order and still be a Jedi, to me is like they are top tier. So yeah, Anakin's in that run for me. Qui-Gon is at the top of that list as well, and so is Dooku.
Yeah. Right.
Before his fall, Dooku to me was another one who's like a quintessential Jedi who isn't like too rigid, like like Obi-Wan or like Mace Windu. And I don't hate Mace Windu. I know you guys do. I don't hate Mace Windu.
I don't hate Mace Windu.
Nick.
I can't get into this. I can't get into this. I can't. We got to move on. Move along.
But yeah. And these guys that kind of walk their own path, but are still like within the doctrine of the Jedi. I'm all for them. And I wasn't even thinking Ahsoka. For some reason, I wasn't. But yeah, you're absolutely right on that one too, Pete.
For sure. Yeah, but that's what makes all this stuff so fun to talk about.
It's Nick, Brian.
I don't hate Mace. Half Moth is starting a hashtag. Nick hates.
Sorry,
Mace Windu. Nick hates Mace Windu.
Nick, I'm just messing with you, bro.
I know.
Hey, we have an opportunity to let's go back to the strike conversation real quick before we take a break, and then take your calls and find out who you think the greatest Jedi of all time was. We have Greg Iwinski is back with us. Hey, Greg, how are you?
Oh, hi. Sorry.
Oh, hey, hi.
I'm also I'm producing an episode of Contract TK, which is our strike late night show, as we
Nice.
speak on this laptop as well. So I'm
Hey, you know, if you
doing-
want to, you can stream this in, and we'll.
yeah. Well, I mean, it will so help fill out the running time. We'll just
Yeah,
throw it like this.
look, we got hours of standing outside of buildings. We
Yeah.
need all the content we can get. So, hey, man, thanks again for joining us. And when you were on last time, right after the strike started, it was so insightful to understand things. But you heard what we talked about before. What's the impact going to be, do you think, on not just Star Wars, but shows that I don't know, just maybe let's just say the industry broadly? I think it's probably
I think the issue that's happening right now too is there's obviously going to be a contraction of the industry, because you went from 10 years ago they were making 200 scripted series. Now they're making 600.
Jeez.
Well, there's probably not enough people to watch 600 shows all the way through.
Right.
And that's fine if we're in a TV industry that doesn't need ratings. Everything gets, Netflix says it's a hit. They say, oh, it's the most watched thing on Hulu. Can you tell us why? No. They won't tell the showrunners what the numbers are.
Right.
As a showrunner, you get conversations that are like, well, you're not hitting our internal metrics. And you ask, what are the internal metrics? And they say, we will not tell you. So there's no way to know any success, what the fans like. There's no fan feedback. But in that world, you can make 600 shows. You can say they're all hits and whatever. As we move back, we're moving back to a model where you make money off ads, because hits can make more and more money.
Yep.
A gym membership, like that model, like Spotify does, you can only make so much money if it's just a subscription fee. Because either you run out of people, and then you just got to keep cranking it up. Netflix is, $24 or whatever now.
Yeah.
So it kind of, everybody chases Netflix. Then halfway through, they realize, oh wait, Netflix doesn't work. This is all kind of a big sham. Yeah, exactly. It is like that. I mean, yes, Bill Hader was thinking about reality when he wrote that storyline. But it is that idea of we are moving back to a place where you go, wow, the best way to make a bunch of money, not quarter over quarter profit for my stockholders. That's not a thing entertainment can do as an industry. But the way that we all get rich is that I pay some people to make stuff everyone wants to watch, and then I make $1 zillion on the ads, and then I sell the show in syndication, and I make $1 zillion more dollars. And as long as I can keep getting hits, it pays for all the losses and more. That's what you do with movies. That's what you do with TV. It's just that the guys who came in now, they don't know the business. Right. This is really the thing. Is Iger is so shocking. I mean, I can tell you, inside the industry, people are shocked that he's had this turn where he could have retired as a hero, the guy who ducked out just before COVID started, and then instead he came back to make $54 million in 2 years of work, and then come and talk about what's unrealistic from a billionaire summer camp that he flew to on his private jet. And it's like, I don't know if you're the guy anymore, if you still have your fastball, because, and I think you look across, with the tech guys who came in, no one in the Writers Guild or the Actors Guild thinks that somebody running a studio is going to be this benevolent person who comes in and is like, I just love art, guys. Everyone, just put out whatever's on your heart. Well, that fan fiction you had for so long, just make that. It's going to be great. No. But back in the day, this is what Fran Drescher was talking about in that speech, was like, in the day, you were dealing with a cutthroat money guy, CEO. But that guy loved movies. And they loved TV. They had a favorite movie. They liked the art form. They knew the art form. They could tell you what a key grip did. Because they were the guys who were like, I want to run a movie studio and I make... But they loved what they were doing. And now we're in a situation where it's like we work in a bakery and the person who comes in doesn't eat bread. They don't know what bread is. They don't care if the bread they make is good. They care about the stock price of the bakery. And that's it. And so... that's the real problem that we're in this moment, because now, as everything contracts with the industry, what's getting cut and how it's getting cut is not based on hits or audience or any of that, because they don't know how to make hits. They're just going to try to slash everywhere, to replace as much labor as you can with AI, because that's essentially free, and then see if they can somehow make it profitable, because again, they continue to avoid the real way you make money in Hollywood, which is you hire people, writers, actors, directors, crew, who know what human beings like, and then when they make that, you make money. But they don't know how to do that. And that's why you see all these IPs that they're bring you in with nostalgia, all these different, not just fan service, but all of this pitching to just try to draw people in, it's because they just aren't making hits. So this is a very long answer to your question, but to say like what's going to happen is, I think they will make less because it's the spigot has been turned on full blast, and I think you'll get back to a place where like maybe we get a Star Wars once every 2 years, 3 years. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's bad. I think for people like us who spent 10 years, almost 2 decades with no new Star Wars movie, if you tell me I get one every 2 years, that's dope. Yeah. That's enough. If I get 2 great shows, especially if again they don't have to be 6 episodes. That's the crazy thing. You can make a 16-episode season. And if I get 2 of those a year, cool. You know what I'm saying? So all that to say, I know I'm running you through the break, but just the idea that like there will be less, but that will also give us all more time to work on it. Because I think you think about it, this is sorry. I mean, look, I could talk about Star Wars for 18 hours, but the idea that like with the Filoni thing, and he's like Anakin is that's true. Because he said it and he's writing right now. And then if another person comes in and opens up a script and is like, actually, Plo Koon is the best Jedi, that now becomes true because we're all making it up and typing it. Right. It's like we always say those battles was like, who would win, Superman or Wolverine? Who is writing? That's going to decide how they win. Because we will find a way. I will find a way to make Mr. Mitya Spitlick beat Thanos. I will figure out a way, and then I'll write it, and that will happen. And so with the thing with him talking about Anakin's the best Jedi, he thinks that's cool. That's right. I mean that's it. I don't know. I think I've been diving in. It's this idea of like him and George and all these people that have come in and shaped Star Wars. I really do think that it's George, Timothy Zahn, Filoni. Those are the 3 generation launchers of Star Wars. I love that. But at the same time, it's important for us all as Star Wars fans to remember that in the spirit of a union, Star Wars came out of collaboration. Right. The husband and wife team rewriting A New Hope, and then Marsha coming in and saving A New Hope, and then Carrie doing all the script editing, and then Kaz coming in. Like, all of this stuff is a bunch of people coming in and scrambling to make something work. And that's what will happen with this new stuff. So if we can win this strike and reset the idea that a television writer's room is a group of people cohesively building a show and shepherding it through to success, the Star Wars shows will get better. If we have a situation with these movies where things like people are not infinitely doing tiny rewrites while having most of their pay hung over their heads and they can just write it with a weekly pay, which would cost the studios the same amount of money, you would just pay it weekly. That kind of stuff is going to lead to better content because the people making your stuff can afford to pay rent in LA. I think about they think about the episode of The Bear, and the writer that went viral talking about that they overdrafted their account while they were accepting an Emmy. Yeah. So being on a hit doesn't financially save you. Well, if that becomes what the industry is, any of us who are vulnerable, and that means people of color, anyone who comes from a poor background of any race, all of us are never going to get in the industry because we can't afford to stay here. Our dad doesn't run a bank and pay our rent. Right. And when that happens, all these shows are going to get worse. All this stuff is going to get worse. So I think when this strike ends, when we win, I think you'll be in a new place where there will be less shows, but the shows will be better. Because the person writing it for you, the person acting for you, is not sitting there in the back of their head thinking, man, I'm on a hit, but I better go to my second job on the day off I have from this.
Right. Yeah. So last question.
Sorry, that's a lot.
No, that's great. And that's exactly the kind of insight that I think.
Pete, are you coming to the question that I was coming to from Chaco in the chat?
No, I was not. I don't know what his
question
was.
No, he's kicking me out. I'm done. I'm getting kicked out. I can feel it. I can feel a break.
What's Chaco's question? Go ahead, throw that
we had a question from the chat. Can you talk about what influencers should do? What should people with podcasts do? How can we help? What is the role?
That's a much better question than I was going to ask. So that's good.
There's a couple things, kind of big and small. One is there are places to donate to. The Entertainment Community Fund is not just for writers. It's for all the crew, all the cameramen, all the assistants, all these people who have been out of work for 11 weeks. Also, there's a thing called the Green Envelope Mutual Aid Fund, which just buys grocery gift cards for people. Because there are tens of thousands of people that aren't writers or actors who aren't working now. And I can tell you, a PA, an assistant, someone working in footage, someone who's a focus puller, these are not huge. These are blue collar, real, regular American jobs.
Yep.
And they've now had to pay rent 3 times with no salary coming in. So it's rough. And so donating to those things can help. But the other thing is again, I think Nick did a great job, which is to continue to talk about that for most people, this is a job. It's a regular career. You are not a famous star. People don't recognize you on the street. You do not have a cool house. Again, you live in one of the 2 most expensive cities in America. That's where you live. And you are hunting from job to job to job, even if you're good. You know, this is my favorite Star Wars action figure. This is it right here. I have this. That doesn't get me a job.
Right.
I got to go find a job and work a job, you know. And so it doesn't matter what happens. So I think for influencers to, I think join in solidarity, because all of creativity is being attacked, especially because of the disrespect shown to people who are internet maker people that like they're going to use AI to try to replace every viral account.
Yep.
To try to do every influencer trend, because absolutely there's a company out there thinking, if I could get a fake avatar of an AI person and they start all the trends and we get all the clicks, then now if I've created PewDiePie but it's a fake IA person who isn't going to have any scandals, genius.
Yep.
So I think to call out those threats, but also I think just to realize that we are all in this together. There's a reason that like we were marching with the Teamsters who are picketing at UPS, because things like their trucks don't have air conditioning.
Yeah.
And they're delivering stuff, with them, with the Amazon workers, with the Starbucks workers, with all of us. I grew up in a state that didn't have unions. I grew up in Arizona. I didn't know anything about it. But to see the dignity of work that is protected by unions and realize that that's for all of us. Yeah. We have to fight back. It's so Star Wars. I mean, it's so freaking Star Wars that it's like that there are more. Yes, and I went back and I watched One Way Out last night because Bo Williman wrote it, and he is my friend. And I love Bo. He's been a very nice guy to me, and he's great. And he wrote it, and I think it is the best episode of television of the year. And I said that on Twitter, and when it came out, I texted him, and I was like, I'm mad at you. That's what I said. I'm gonna walk and talk because I have to go ring the guy in for my food. You're just getting the real Greg experience now. But I wrote to him, and I was like, I'm mad at you. I'm mad at you because you made something so good. That I have no, when something is that good as a writer, you're like, this exists and it's so freaking good and I didn't make it, but it's so, and it's so good. But I think watching it again, it is so exactly this moment. And Bo is a huge pro-labor guy. He was president of the Writers Guild for a while. And it's that idea, exactly, Nick, there are more of us. Right. They want us to be afraid of them because they're a billionaire, because they run a company, because because they write a check while we make the things that people love.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't need to be afraid of them.
I put in the chat Entertainment Community Fund for folks to click on. What was the other one you said? I'm sorry, I was.
I think it's called Green Envelope Mutual Aid. Okay. Is what I believe it's called. So, sorry, I'm ranting. I'm coming in blowing the show.
This is good. Well, listen, we've now seen you on major news networks and the SSW Network. So
yes.
Well, there's your dinner.
That's right.
We will. I really appreciate you calling in and giving us this insight, and I'm hopeful that we don't have to talk to you about this again. But we need this to end.
Next time I come on, I would like to talk exclusively about the Kuat shipyards the next time I come on.
Absolutely. It's a big thing for Greg, the Kuat shipyards.
It's a huge thing for me.
Major thing for Greg. So we're going to do that.
There may be a thing that happens later that is publicly released that I will be able to talk about.
Imagine that. Well, we're definitely going to do that. And anybody who's watching this, if you're not listening to Yub Nub Podcast, which is Greg, Tim, and Jim, please go listen to Yub Nub. It's such a great show. It's 3 TV writers talking about Star Wars, and it's totally worth your time.
It's fantastic. Greg, thank you so much for hanging out with us, and we will see you again soon. And we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get back to talking about Jedis. Enjoy your dinner, Greg.
Awesome. See you, buddy.
Thanks. Bye.
And we are back with more Force Connect, the only live Star Wars Friday night show. Thank you all for hanging out with us. If you are hanging out, remember, and I see Eric Elliott has already made his play on social media to get a Just Chillin' sticker. Head to the SSW Network shop.com. Find your favorite design, shirt, cup, mug, whatever. Throw it up on social media with the hashtag Force Connect. And we'll pick somebody at random to win a sticker version of their favorite design. Well, tonight we are talking about the comment made by Mr. Dave Filoni that Anakin Skywalker is the greatest Jedi of all time. Of course, because the world lives on Twitter, that led to people faking outrage, having issue, taking comments. And if you were with us a few moments ago, you heard that all three of us here on the screen had different answers as to who the greatest Jedi is. Not that we disagree that it could or could not be Anakin, but there's always room for interpretation. So with that, why don't we bring in a couple callers and let's hear what others have to say. Here we go.
Hello there.
There he is, Eric. How are you, Eric Elliott? I was just on his show this past week. If you want to hear me ramble on about things, check out the latest episode of Honest to Claude. Eric, before we start the timer, how you doing?
I'm doing good, and if it takes years and eventually these writers and actors actually paid what they're worth, it was worth it.
I could not agree more. Could not agree more.
But let's talk about Jedi.
Here we go.
All right. I was not made upset by what Dave Filoni said. He's Star Wars creator, Star Wars fan. He's allowed to have his opinion. But I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, I want to put Anakin in top 10 of Jedis, to be honest.
Really?
Like not even close. If you were going to ask me who I think is the best Jedi, it'll be Rey.
Rey. Oh,
sorry.
There you go. Bonus time.
Because my criteria of judging a Jedi is their heart. It's not about their skill. It's not about their influence. It's not about how many books, Jedi books they've read. It's about their heart.
Real page turners.
Yeah, and I think
they were not.
Rey, out of all the Jedi that I've seen, at least in live action, it has the best heart, and she does more with her warmth than practically any other character in the franchise.
And she's part Zillow.
She is part Zillow, and she has fought off, the urge to bite off the heads of one of her friends. That's strength.
It's big.
Wait, whose head was she going to bite off?
Maybe Nambi Gimba.
Oh man, that's brutal, and that's Deborah Wilson too. That's even more brutal.
Wow. I thought it would be what was Simon Pegg's character's name? I keep forgetting.
Unkar Plutt.
Yeah,
Unkar Plutt. Yeah. That guy had it coming.
But yeah, I'm like, you're saying Anakin's the best Jedi. I'm like, tell that to the Tusken Raider children he slaughtered while he was still a Jedi. Right. I'm like, come on now. He did genocide as a Jedi. And you're just like, oh yeah, he's the best. I'm like,
hey man, if the Tusken Raiders killed my mom,
you got murdered children. You got murdered children.
Everyone's getting suplexed. I'm sorry, that's what's happening. Everyone's catching a suplex and a rock bottom. It's happening. Everyone in that village.
Wow.
Super kicks for everyone.
Mm-hmm. And I briefly talked about the possible racism of Padme, that she cares more about human deaf children and not Tusken Raider children. But we're gonna let that slide.
Oh, just in time.
That's right. Saved by the bell on that
Saved by the bell.
It's Chris walking away.
Well, Eric, thank you once again for your insight, and thanks for having me on your show, man. That was a lot of fun this week.
Yeah, I'm gonna have tasty cakes on next time.
Oh, nice! Oh,
nice.
That's like a cage match. That is awesome. I am.
Oh no! Like, this is welcoming. This is not beef.
Well,
we're
honestly,
not.
100%.
I'm not going to roll up to his crib and start blasting.
Wow, this is Batman and Superman. Love it.
Well, Eric,
world's finest.
Thank you so much, man. We will see you again next week.
See you, buddy.
Take care.
All right, now Pete, before we go any further, we've got some other callers hanging out.
Yes.
I need to throw a shout out into the mix tonight.
Okay.
And I need to talk about the cookie that I'm eating right now.
Yeah.
Our good friend Brian Fry sent this to me. I believe Chris got one.
I did as well.
Pete got one.
Yep.
For those of you keeping score at home, and I don't know if you'll be able to see, this is the triple chocolate cookie that came from the Galactic Star Cruiser from the Chandrilla Star Line. My man Brian hooked me up. Brian and Holly were down there just recently, and they sent all three of us a care package, which we are internally grateful for. I do also have, I'm not eating this one.
That's going in the freezer.
Yeah, this one's actually it's upside down. That's really helpful. And I have this, and we talked about it before, and you can't see it because it's not lit up. But the first cookie that Brian sent me from the Star Cruiser, I encased in acrylic, and it sits on a lighted base on my desk in my podcast studio. So
yeah, is that thing going to get like hibernation sickness when you take it out?
Probably. Yeah, we're not
be very well preserved if it survived.
But this is a cookie directly from the Galactic Star Cruiser, and I'm glad to be enjoying it.
Indiana Jones is going to find that cookie in 200 years.
It belongs in a museum, guys.
It looks tasty, but it belongs in a museum.
Well, speaking of tasty, let's bring in our next caller. Here we go.
Hello.
I don't know what's happening over here.
So, what have we here?
I just want to know how well of a transition that really was, first of all.
It was supposed to be really good, and then my computer said, I know you clicked on that, but we're going to try it again.
It was supposed to be smooth.
Oh, it was.
I like to think it was sort of like we tried to do sort of like a rhythmic kind of bam. There we are. All right.
Start, go.
I'm starting the timer, and Gimli is going to let us know what his favorite show is.
Mitra Surik. Real quick, Mitra Surik. I'm gonna throw it out there. I don't think Yoda is the greatest Jedi, and hot take. Okay, I think he's part of the reason the Order fell. I do. I really think he was part of the reason the Order fell, only because you don't stay in a position of power that long without becoming complacent.
Mm-hmm.
And
let him know.
That's not to say that he wasn't good, okay? But I do believe that Mitra Surik is arguably the best Jedi. And I know that she's EU, and I know that she's not considered canon anymore. But, I mean, she was tempted by the dark side, didn't fall to it. She fought the Sith triumvirate and won. She brought the Jedi back from extinction. She adapted to, she took the Jedi teachings and adapted them to make them more pliable and easier to kind of adhere to. That you weren't stonewalling it,
So for the people like me who don't know exactly who that is,
I'm trying real hard to be cool and be like, I don't know who he's talking about.
Knights of the Old Republic 2. She's the canon protagonist. She was the general to Revan during the Mandalorian Wars. She was Galifianakis. Yeah, okay. Listen, Jeff, we're gonna have words anyway. So, but no, she was the right hand woman essentially to Darth Revan during the Mandalorian Wars. She was the one that activated the Shadow Mass generator on Malachor 5.
Oh, okay.
Where if you've watched Rebels, you know what Malachor 5 is.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's responsible for the continuation of the Jedi Order, and there's no other way to really say it. She 100% is. If she didn't win that fight, the Jedi wouldn't exist. There were 3 of them left in the galaxy by the time she was done. So I could go on.
Angry. Speaking of KOTOR, my I just started playing KOTOR 2 again the other day. I've only done a few hours, and my character is already at the bottom for dark side, and I'm not even trying. I'm trying to be good and bad. It's just I could say hello to some random person. Dark side points.
Welcome to the state of the galaxy.
Feels very real world, doesn't it?
And that's my pick for greatest Jedi is Ryuk Chefi. That's my my Jedi's name.
What's his name?
Ryuk Jeffy. It's that what's your Jedi name thing. I've had it for like 20 years.
Oh, okay.
You love it.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, Angry, thank you so much for calling in. We appreciate it. Keeping that streak alive. Good to see you. And
I absorbed your beard.
Honestly, I'm bringing the beard back. I was inspired by Only the Best, and I will be watching you on with Eric.
I will say though, he's been very cagey so far about what the topic is going to be.
Uh-oh.
And I have to think it has to do with a Zillow Beast, Alabama somehow, and fucking something else.
Uh-oh. Careful.
So tune in and make sure to tune in to
you better be pro Zillow the whole way.
Pro Zillow. All right, man. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say we are seeing a bunch of new people in with us tonight. So thank you all for hanging out. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the subscribe.
Christopher, Jurassic Dave.
Yep.
Glad to see new folks hanging out with us in the chat. We're excited that you're here. If you want to hit the link in the chat and call in and talk to us, we'd love to hear from you. We're excited you're here. And
just as a quick reminder, head over to the SSW Network shop. Pick out your favorite design, share it on social media with the hashtag ForceConnect, and we will pick somebody to win a sticker of their favorite design. So why don't we bring in our next caller? It's going to be hard to give him the 2 minutes, but we're going to have to try to stay close if we can. But let's bring in our next guy.
Go for Papa Palpatine.
You have a collect call from
Darth Vader.
I gotta take this. Hold on.
Darth Chaco in the house. How are you?
I'm doing great. I gotta ask, how much time is on the clock?
We'll put 2 minutes on, but I'm not going to start it right away because I want to say, and I should have said this to Greg as well. Thank you. You will be part of Podathon 2023 this September. We're so excited about that. We are once again raising money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and we have a big number that we're going for, but we're doing some really cool and different things this time around, and we are excited to see some new faces like our friend here, Darth Chaco, and your co-host. You're going to do an episode of your show, yeah? And,
I'm super excited because there's just a lot of really cool contacts and things that we've made. We'll discuss a lot more. But,
awesome.
I think it'll be fantastic.
We can't wait. So I'm going to get it started. If you go a little over, we won't hold you back too much, but we're going to hit the number, and here we go.
All right. So on the topic of the best Jedi, first of all, it's not Anakin. He's arguably the worst Jedi. I say this with a loving heart because I love him as a character, but Pong Krell walked so that Anakin could run. You don't want Jedi in bed with politics. He slept with a politician every night. If you don't, I don't know, man. Like everything you could say that was wrong with the Jedi, Anakin did all of that plus 11. Anyways, my argument for best Jedi is going to be Plo Koon, and the real reason I say this is because I think the ultimate thing for a Jedi to be is somewhere in between. I think there needs to be a Jedi triumvirate. I think it needs to be Mace Windu, Yoda, and Quinlan, and Qui-Gon, because between the three of them, you have everything. First of all, Mace Windu's lineage is undeniable, right? Mm-hmm. All his people hate on Mace Windu. He was right every single time. Mace Windu is Dokes in Dexter. He saw everything right from the start, and he's like, that's going to be a problem later. And I don't know, he gets to blame oddly. But Yoda is the heart. Yes, he got complacent and he screwed up everything. He falls into the Dumbledore category, except Dumbledore sucks a lot more. But that's a whole separate topic. Anyways, he recognized where he was wrong and he tried to make amends and did everything he could to make things get better from there. Then you have Qui-Gon Jinn, who is like the futurist of the group, and he's going to make everything. And I feel like all of those are best put into Plo Koon as a single person, and that's mostly because we haven't gotten enough Plo Koon stories to like disprove me. But like he's he's been a solid dude through and through. And
plus, Plo Koon brought us Ahsoka. Right.
He brought us Ahsoka. He has such a huge heart. We know Plo's Bros was his clone group. Like no one else is rolling with their clones, has that much love. Like there was question as to personhood of clones in general in the galaxy. Now I also want to add another side thing. If they were a Jedi, Padme would be the ultimate Jedi.
Well, she has the compassion. She has the
everything you can think of that should be a Jedi is what Padme did, fought for, and who she was.
Yeah,
prove me wrong.
Well, yeah, well, but the other thing about your Plo Koon thing isn't that Dave's favorite Jedi?
That's Dave's favorite Jedi. Yes, he's my favorite Jedi too.
That's got to tell you something as well, right? If this is the guy that worked with George, is expanding the lore, he knows something about that character for sure. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's fantastic. Anything else you want to add, Darth Jonko? Normally we don't go for that, but I'll throw one extra. Anything else you want to do? You want to add it? And thank you for asking the question about the writer's strike, because I think that is absolutely critical. And I will urge any of our fellow podcasters and content creators and YouTubers and TikTokers, support these guys. Or honestly, look, if Star Wars goes away, we don't have much to talk about, right? If this content goes away, there is not much to talk about, and if it goes away, we also don't get it. Never mind that we don't get to talk about it, but we don't want to lose great talent. That's the problem.
Last thing I want to say is about that topic, and like we are in a weird war between like what I guess that the US, but a lot of Western society will become if it's going to head towards Star Trek or Star Wars. I love Star Wars, but I don't want to live there. I'd rather live in Star Trek. Things they are always changing. They always iterate. They always accelerate. And so you put Bob Iger in there, who was a G. He was awesome before because of how he changed. Well, he didn't change, but
he didn't change.
You know what I mean? Correct. It's almost like as technology changes, the tools that can iterate what the next form of technology is changes from there, and that's exactly what we're living right now. And it's in a weird state right now because of AI is Pandora's box, and it's been open. It's out.
Yes,
the most replaceable people are executives. It's become top down.
True.
The highest people are the most easily replaced. However, they hold the power, and they're trying to like flip the script. You can't turn off the creatives. That's
Correct.
not possible, because that's what the AI learns from, and they're gonna learn real quick. I mean, so Netflix has been using AI for years in order to figure out what shows they're going to do. They look at what people watch, the actors in there and stuff. They offer roles and then write scripts based off of that information, but that can only take you so far, and that will absolutely get dry. And you need creators in order to move to the next step. And so, as a content creator myself, I'm in this weird place where I'm trying to get official information as a content creator of what I should do, because I want to support these people. They absolutely should be making a living wage. It almost feels like current Bob Iger wants the Hunger Games. That's what it is. That's what this strike is, literally the Hunger Games. He wants and it's crazy. And I don't want to support that, but I do want to support the things I love. Blue Beetle is about to hit theaters, and it's our first Latino superhero, where that is a core part of their story. And my wife is Mexican. She was so excited seeing that. Like, I want to support these things, but then so more information from the correct people, because there's a lot of misinformation is going to be needed in order to like get us towards a better future. But we're on the precipice of something great.
You just said something really interesting, and it's something that I've been thinking about too. Is I'm trying to be excited about Ahsoka, and I am. I'm trying to be excited about Skeleton Crew, and I am about Acolyte, but where it's coming from and what's happening to the people creating it. It's this weird sort of, guilty pleasure sort of thing happening. And it's what you just said about your wife and Blue Beetle, that's a tough one, right? Because this is something that it's speaking to people, and at the same time it's coming, it's literally coming from some pretty bad places.
Across the Spider-Verse is like my number one movie this year, and it
Yeah.
comes out, and then you hear about the people animating the thing and the crap that they're going through, and you're like,
absolutely,
I love this movie, but at what cost?
Right.
At what cost? But the only thing that they want to replace these people, but the only thing that cannot be replaced is art.
It's the people.
Yep. Yeah. 100%. Well, dude, thank you so much for your insight. Thank
Always
you for
good to
your
see ya.
thoughts. And thank you for joining us on the show tonight. We love having you whenever you're around. And we look forward to, I'm going to catch up with you maybe over the weekend about what you were talking about for Podathon. I'm so excited to see where that goes. But thank you, man. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Have a good one,
See ya.
guys.
See you, buddy.
Bye. I think I'm gonna have to take a week off and just let Darth Chaco be on with you guys because he's much more interesting. We have made it through another episode of Force Connect. First of all, thank you to everybody who joined us. Thank you to all the new folks who hung out with us tonight. It was so cool to see new people again.
Absolutely
fun. Right now, you have if you go out there and you go to SSW Network Shop and you find your favorite design and you post it on social media with the hashtag Force Connect, there's only one other person who's done it so far. You have a good chance of winning a free
got
sticker.
a 15% shot at this point.
All you got to do to win a free, who doesn't love a free sticker? I love free sticker. I'm gonna post my own. I'm gonna win it.
I was gonna say, what am I doing?
But David Amilati has been watching, and for those of you who know the name Force Connect and streaming Star Wars, David and I worked together a long time ago on this stuff. It's weird to say it's a long time ago, but it is literally over 2 or 3 years at this point, which makes me feel old. And David's a new father. Congratulations, David. It's not that new anymore, 5 or 6 months at this point, but so excited for him. And thank you to everybody who joined us. And Chris, what's happening on Bro Axiom this week?
Well, we have Shooting the Poodoo on Sunday Night Live. Don't ask what they're talking about. I'm not sure yet. So there's that. This weekend we're dropping a new Nice Guys podcast. We're going to be talking about DC films in the last 10 years and the good and the bad, the ups and downs, and all the opposition they had to go through and where it could go with James Gunn taking over. We have 2 comics coming out this week. It is Bounty. No, it's not. It's Dr. Aphra number 34.
With the cool cover.
Amazing covers. And Star Wars Return of the Jedi 40th Anniversary Rebellion one-shot. And that is one of the best comics I have read this year or in the past couple of years. It's one of the best. It's amazing. I'll send it to you guys so you can check it out if you want.
Yes, please.
Do that sort of thing. Let's see. There's a new Star Bros episode coming out, and I wish I had said something when Chaco was on, but we have a new show coming out at the end of August called The Spoiler Run with myself, Chaco, Rick Villanueva from Jam Transmissions, and Dan. Dan Miller. Dan. So we're going to be talking about. We're with Quick Shot. We do the previews. With The Spoiler Run, we do. We're going to be talking about our favorite comics from this month. So we're picking August because we're going to start talking about the Dark Droids arc that starts in August. So I'm really, really looking forward to that, and I'm so excited to be working with Dark Chaco. It's going to be dope.
He is awesome. Love talking to him. He's got. Thank you, David. That's funny. Around the Galaxy, there is no new Around the Galaxy this week. I urge you to check
out here just trying to stir up trouble now. So
he's just lighter fluid everywhere.
Dan and the Trandoshans, the controversy.
Sorry, go ahead, Pete.
But no new Around the Galaxy this week. But I do urge you to definitely check out the Indiana Jones episode of Podcast The Whills that just happened this week. Not only did I produce it, but I listened to it again today, and I really enjoyed some of the insights. There was Brian Wynardi from Talking Bay 94, Brian's lovely wife, Holly Fry, and Raven, who you all know from Poodoo, and Nick talking about Indiana Jones. It's a great 60 minutes. You'll absolutely love the conversation if you're a fan of Indiana Jones. We will probably drop a best of episode of Around the Galaxy this week. We are working on a handful of interviews, and we will have some new stuff coming very soon. Remember to think about becoming a patron by heading over to the SSWnetwork.com and hitting join SSWN for as little as $3 a month. You're going to get some free stuff on a regular basis, and you'll also be able to be a part of the interviews when we do them. Also, again, one last chance. Go to the SSWnetworkshop.com, find a sticker, throw that up there, and you could win it. It's that simple. Just use the hashtag ForceConnect so I can find you. And with that, Nick, may the Force be with you.
Always.
Just one more round, friend, then homeward bound, friend. Don't forget me in your dreams. Just one more song, friend, and then so long, friend. The nights get shorter, it seems. Just one more rhyme, friend. Yes, it's a crime, friend. But you know time, friend. Time can fly. So it's good night, friend. Good night, but not goodbye.